Mai sunt 2 zile până la alegerile care pot schimba soarta lumii, iar tensiunile cresc de la o oră la alta. Kamala Harris și Donald Trump fac eforturi disperate să câștige voturi pe ultima sută de metri. Într-un interviu exclusiv pentru Antena 3 CNN, fostul consilier în campania lui Donald Trump din 2016 vorbește despre provocările acestei campanii, dar și despre problemele de politică externă ale Statelor Unite în contextul tensiunilor tot mai mari la nivel mondial.
Mr. Hodorkovsky, you were born just a few kilometers from Romania, but never been to Romania before.
That's right. I was born in Czernowitz, just a few kilometers outside the border. And I grew up in a home where my grandparents spoke Romanian. And I remember, I grew up under the Soviet regime, but information was very hard to get. At least the truth was. And my parents and my grandparents had a transistor radio in the apartment, and they were trying to listen to the other side, hoping to reach the truth. And, in those days, Romania was also under the communist regime, but at least Romania was a little bit closer to the West.
Donald Trump, because you worked directly with Donald Trump, said that he would negotiate peace the day after he takes office. Do you think this would be possible?
Well, I wouldn't say anything is impossible with Donald Trump. And the reason I say that is he is not your typical politician. He also has, at this point, 4 years of experience of speaking with stakeholders in the conflict. He certainly spoke to Putin. He spoke to Zelensky. He spoke to Zelensky actually very recently as well. They discussed the war and America's involvement and help in the effort. And I think what he is interested in is in stability. Instability is bad for Ukraine, it's bad for NATO, and it's bad for the United States. So what we want at the end of the day, I think, is for people to stop dying, instead of deciding things with guns, let's decide them by talking to each other. And I think at the end of the day, Donald Trump is one of very few individuals in the world that can have honest conversations with both sides and get to the heart of what each side is looking for to resolve the conflict, or at least to put the guns down and start working on the next chapter of this region.
I know your opinion is that China is the biggest foreign policy issue for United States. How could a negotiation solve the Taiwan problem? Because you collaborated with Taiwan, if you can tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So there's no doubt about it. China is the #1 national security threat, not just for the United States, but for our friends here in Europe and the free world in general. That is not a secret. And that is one of the issues in Washington that is a bipartisan issue. People in Washington disagree about many things, probably most things. But the one thing that they do agree on is the threat from communist China. So what that means is we need to think about how to mitigate, how to lessen that threat from China. And that involves ensuring that China does not invade Taiwan. Because both from a practical consideration, Taiwan is the most advanced manufacturer of semiconductors, which are probably the most important technology underpinning all other technologies for the next generation. The free world cannot afford for that technology to fall in the hands of China. And that's exactly why China is interested in Taiwan, not because of some historic connection, which is just a cover story. But strategically speaking, China wants its hands on Taiwanese semiconductors. So, which is exactly why the peace and security of Taiwan is in the interest of the free world, because you don't want an authoritarian regime like the Chinese government to be able to dictate to the rest of the world how it does things and what it does things, and to compromise on our principles of democracy. Therefore, what we did, in the first Trump administration, when I was at the State Department, is work with TSMC, which is the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, which is the most important company in the world, probably, in terms of technology. because it's the leading manufacturer of the most advanced semiconductors, is we work with them to expand their operation to the United States. And we were successful in bringing a TSMC facility to Arizona, which at the time it was the biggest deal in our history. It was a $12 million deal. And today I'm happy to report that that deal has increased to $65 billion just from TSMC.
But you could bring that technology to Romania. Is there a plan?
Well, I think it would be extremely strategic for Romania to compete for the semiconductor business. I think it's an opportunity. It's a very important time in the evolution of this technology, where Taiwan, for example, has seen that it's possible to succeed outside of its own borders and outside of China. The United States has created a successful story. And now that TSMC is ready to work with other like-minded partners,